Thomas Jefferson, most known as the primary author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson was a stalwart of democracy. While not much of an orator, his pen cut quite a swath of ink through correspondence, documents, journals, and manuscripts. Jefferson was an inventor, lawyer, and educator. He graduated from the University of William and Mary at the age of 18, 2 years after he enrolled in 1762. He was the designer of Monticello, the Virginia State Capitol, the rotunda at the University of Virginia, among other notable buildings. His influential style has become known as Jeffersonian architecture. Monticello and the rotunda are both World Heritage Sites. As a member of Virginia's House of Burgesses, Jefferson called for a day of prayer and fasting in support of the citizens of Boston when the British government closed the harbor in response to the Boston Tea Party. As he had hoped, this action allied Virginia with the Patriots' cause in Massachusetts and fueled opposition to the Intolerable Acts. In 1774, Jefferson penned a pamphlet entitled "A Summary View of the Rights of British Americans." In the pamphlet, he outlined a set of grievances that the colonies had against King George III. Jefferson also wrote that an exasperated people who felt oppression when given the chance would act out in defiance. Jefferson was appointed to the Committee of Five that was tasked with drafting the Declaration of Independence. Over the next 17 days, he would create the first draft. Jefferson is considered by many to be the primary author of the document because the committee left intact more than 75% of his original draft. Jefferson's grave is inscribed with an epitaph of the three things of which he was the proudest. They are his authorship of the Declaration of Independence, the Statute of Virginia that guaranteed religious freedom, and his founding of the University of Virginia in 1819. There is no mention of him being president on his gravestone. Jefferson married Martha Skelton, a widow, in 1772. He fathered 6 children, though only 2 daughters survived to adulthood. Throughout his life, Jefferson had 12 grandchildren, several of them having lived with him at Monticello. After his wife died, historians believe he began a relationship with Sally Hemings, one of his slaves. After his death, Jefferson's daughter allowed Hemings to live as a free woman in Charlottesville until she died in 1835. DNA tests in 2000 show a familial gene common between their descendants. It was only after the chaotic election of 1800 between Jefferson and John Adams that Congress decided to ratify the 12th Amendment to the Constitution. The debacle occurred when Jefferson received the same number of electoral votes as his running mate, Aaron Burr, and Burr refused to concede the election. The House of Representatives decided the election after 36 ballots on February 17, 1801. They chose Jefferson as president and Burr as vice president. Early in his presidency, Jefferson was able to achieve one of the greatest acquisitions of his political career with the Louisiana Purchase, which more than doubled the size of the United States. The 529 million acre tract of land is one of the most fertile on earth and eliminated the nation's reliance on other countries for its food. Jefferson did not believe the Constitution gave him the power to make the $15 million land acquisition, but agreed with Congress to make the purchase. Jefferson ran again as the Democratic-Republican candidate in 1800 and got a victory. He was elected again in 1804. He then sent out the Lewis and Clark expedition to explore the land the United States got by the Louisiana Purchase. After meeting at the Second Continental Congress in 1775, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams became lifelong friends. Both Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on July 4, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Legend holds that Adams' last words were, "Thomas Jefferson survives." In addition to the Jefferson Memorial near the Tidal Basin in Washington, D.C., he is immortalized on the $2 bill, the nickel, and is one of the figures of Mount Rushmore. The memorial in the nation's capital, featuring a 19-foot-tall statue of Jefferson, was dedicated in 1943 on the 200th anniversary of his birth. Jefferson collected fossils and was obsessed with animals, especially the mammoth. He even had the bones of a mastodon, now on display in the Monticello Entrance Hall, sent to him during his residence in the President's House in Washington, D.C. After residing in France, Jefferson brought his love of French wine to America. He is recognized as one of the great wine experts of early America and even kept 2 vineyards at Monticello. It is highly likely that Jefferson had the largest personal collection of books in the United States at the time. After the Library of Congress was raided by the British in 1814, Jefferson offered his personal library, which contained almost 6,500 volumes, as a replacement. Jefferson, the third of 10 children, was born on April 13, 1743, in Shadwell, Virginia, into a planter family. His parents were Peter and Jane Jefferson. He had 6 sisters and 3 brothers. At 9 years old, Thomas Jefferson began studying Latin, Greek, and French. He also learned to ride horses with highest honors. He went on to become a lawyer. Facts about Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson loved new inventions and technology. Jefferson knew how to speak 4 languages: English, Latin, French, and Italian. He could also read Greek and Spanish. Thomas Jefferson did not like the fact that Congress wanted to change and omit parts of the Declaration of Independence. Thomas made ice cream popular in the United States. He had a pet mockingbird. He owned a home called Poplar Forest in Virginia that was shaped like an octagon.